Hi, my name's Shaden Raby, and this is my deviant behavior creative project. Deviance that has influenced my life. Mental illness. Mental illness is characterized by the changes in thought process, mood, and behavior that deviates from the society norms. Mental illness can represent itself numerous of ways through the vast majority of people. Mental illness can represent itself in many different diagnoses: mood disorders, anxiety disorders, personality disorders, trauma related disorders, schizophrenia spectrum, autism spectrum, dissociative disorders, and very much more. Not all mental illnesses are viewed at the same degree of deviant within society because of the way they represent themselves through the individual. A more pronounced mental illness will result in a higher degree of stigmatization and cause more of an upset through society standards. Society's approach to mental illness through history. Historically, mental illness within individuals has played a huge role in the societies around them. Earliest views were that the mental illness was the representation of evil spirits within a human body, and the punishment was torture to these individuals and death itself. The societies that did not see them as evil saw them as fools through their society and were generally less abusive and aggressive towards them. Asylums have played a huge role in the incarceration and alienation of the mentally ill, to keep them out of the way of the public. Asylums were also set in place for so long that the reasoning of the thought of curing these individuals. The alienation of the mentally ill has been seen as morally right by societies for generations to help keep the integrity of society away from the insane individuals. Through the 19th century, there were a considerable amount of individuals who fought for the moral treatment of those considered mentally ill, which helped close down the asylums and end the torture, and helped open up more humane mental hospitals for these individuals. The newest way to maintain the mentally ill is based off the idea of chemical treatment, giving these individuals medication to help them change their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors into becoming more tolerable. Why is mental illness so deviant? Mental illness is the disruption of regular thought, emotion, and behavior that differs from what society believes should be acceptable. Mental illness is a form of deviance that comes unintentionally by those who possess them. The individual does not mean to violate individuals' expectations. There's a wide range of mental illnesses that affect a huge population of all societies, some being severely debilitating, while others are manageable and rarely noticed by society's eye. Mental illness severity is largely based on the way society around it perceives it. If an individual is causing a disruption in society due to their illness, it will be more deviant than an illness easily hidden. Mental illness altogether has held huge stigmas through society, making it so society characterizes all individuals having mental illness into a group that society deems undesirable. This stigmatization results largely in discrimination and alienation of those deemed mentally ill. Who benefits from the deviant nature of mental illness? I believe that not many individuals benefit from the stigmatization of mental illnesses due to the wide range of individuals who fight with these illnesses through their lives. The small percentage of individuals I believe could benefit from society's view on mental illness would be those who do not suffer from them, who live in higher class neighborhoods. There is a notable statistic that shows the mental illnesses are more prominent in lower class neighborhoods due to the constant changes and lack of organization. Individuals who live in upper class neighborhoods see less of those who hold the more severe mental illnesses that would cause a noticeable violation of societal norms. Crime and victimization of mental illness. Due to the high stigmatization of those with mental illness, there are also high rates of police intervention within these individuals' lives. These issues arise due to lack of social supports needed to properly maintain conditions such as medical needs, psychiatric evaluation, living arrangements, and community resources. It has been shown that a large population of those within our prisons hold mental illnesses due to the fact that it is hard for society to understand what they are going through, and their sometimes aggressive and impolite behaviors to those around them. Many times, individuals bearing mental illness find themselves to be the victim of the way society treats them, having harder times maintaining jobs, developing close relationships, and sometimes maintaining their own health and well-being alone. Functionalist theories on mental illness. The first sociologist to study mental illness, Durkheim, studied the effect of social disorganization and emphasized that to be the reason of mental illness through society. The theory this emphasizes would be the social disorganization theory. This is the theory that suggests an individual deviance can be affected and attributed to the lack and or absence of conformity and cooperation. Things that affect this would be families, schools, churches, and local communities. Sociologists who still study these functionalist theories find that individuals who have secure, stable, and supportive communities tend to have less mental illness and higher chances of recovering from mental illnesses. Symbolic interactionist theories on mental illness. Symbolic interactionalists study the other side of mental illness that functionalists do not. These sociologists study that the after effect of having mental illness, not what caused mental illness. Symbolic interactionists focused on the way society reacts to these individuals holding mental illness, the effects of labeling and stigmatization. This emphasizes the labeling theory, a theory that associates the deviance of an individual represents in society as secondary deviations, resulting from social labeling of this individual. Labeling an individual as mentally ill pushes them out from society and results in them becoming an outsider to mainstream society. Labeling can result in an individual not wanting to seek out help or diagnosis due to the fear of rejection when they do. Postmodern approaches to mental illness. Sociologists that use the postmodern approach believe that mental illness diagnosis is a result of the ideology of the society they're in. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders is a constantly changing tool that helps psychiatrists and psychologists approach mental illness, adding new ones and changing the ones they understand about the old. The postmodern approach sees mental illness as a constantly changing definition that changes with what society knows about mental illness as well as how they feel about it. How mental illness has played a role in my life. Mental illness has represented itself in my life in a very subtle way since I was younger. I started having panic attacks at very random times in almost all settings. I would lose my breath and be unable to catch it, which sent me into full panic. These attacks would be very debilitating at the time due to the fact that I did not know what was happening to me. I would have these attacks at work, while shopping, while driving, and even through my sleep. It took me quite a while to reach out for help for these attacks because I just assumed they were health issues and not mental issues. This resulted in constant trips to doctors and the emergency room, which all told me I was suffering from an anxiety attack, and that's why I felt the way it did. In the summer of 2020, I was diagnosed with panic disorder and severe general anxiety. In my experience with mental health, I have seen how society views something they cannot understand being told you do not look like you have these issues, or you are too young to worry so much, which results in a feeling of not being understood by the people around you and makes you feel alienated. I believe society has a set stigma on the way they believe that mental illnesses should represent themselves in an individual. And when an individual does not fit those boxes, it's hard for society to take that individual's mental health seriously.